the Sowtastic podcast. I'm your host, Roshan India. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Anthony Patrick. He's one of the co-founders of Sowtastic, and we wanted to actually use this podcast as a way to start talking about what we're doing with kids, what are other parents doing with their kids to instill financial education, financial foundation into their mindset. So why don't we do this? Patrick, why don't we learn a little about yourself and your family?
Sure. Hey, thanks, Roshan. Very excited to be in this podcast. Some basic things about me. I have a lovely family, 2 daughters, and an amazing wife, 11-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old daughter. And it's first generation immigrant family. Grew up in India. My kids were born here. And as similar to any other immigration families, we had to really be careful about spending a lot of time to bringing up our kids because it's a different culture they are growing with, which is new to us. At the same time, it's exciting also because we are also seeing a lot of people from different cultural backgrounds, and so it's an interesting journey.
Well, I know one of the things that I know about you is you grew up with a father that has a traditional business background. Did that actually help or hurt you versus your peers when it comes to just financial knowledge, financial background?
Yeah, my dad's business knowledge certainly helped me there. I've seen him mainly in terms of execution. I have little knowledge about some of the finance things that he has done behind the scenes for running the business, but I like the execution skills and planning on that. Because most of the time, and I used to tell you earlier that my parents were very emotional towards our development, so they basically had hidden so many information from us about finance. They thought we will feel bad or whatever reason that they had in mind. So I kind of carried over that, kind of decision making. And for a long time, I was more emotional towards, I actually did a lot of bad decisions with money as well myself. But I wish I had known a lot. And they supported us till my college. And this was, great. I greatly appreciate that fact. And I think I want to do that same thing for my kids too. But I want to do it slightly different way. They had been completely from a provider background. They were 100% providing for us. I want to do it in a collaborative way. Okay. I want to partner with my kids in their career, not just the college, but then even after that, to make sure they're having a wonderful life, so that they get the basics right, because a lot of the things that I'm reflecting now on some of the bad decisions, it's the basics. So I've missed some of that. So that's one of the intention of starting early. My elder one is just 11. Sometimes some people ask well, why would you talk about these things to your 11-year-old about money and stuff? I think by the time when she's in college, if she's able to decide if she wants to take this course, not just with because whatever money that we are spending for education, it needs to be applied in their real life. That's all I want them to learn.
Yeah, and you know what? I know all parents have good intentions with their kids, but there's a fine line between overprotecting them so much where you make them naive versus actually being transparent with them and making sure that they understand not just where things are coming from, but which mindset to think about and how to process that information. And I've seen your kids that you're doing an amazing job. You and Tina are doing an amazing job with your kids. So
thank you for that.
No problem. So good. So now, why was it important for you to sow that financial knowledge into your kids? I mean, you've already explained a little bit of your philosophy, but can you go a little more deeper in that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is 2 realms there. They need to first realize that everything in the material world revolves around money. So even when she was 10 years old, when I had some basic conversations like this, maybe I think 6 months back, she asked me a question, why are they not teaching about money at school? Why are they not really going in depth and explaining about money at school? And that really made me think. But one of the fundamental reason is that we make a lot of choices in our life, good and bad, some tied to our emotions, some tied to our personal things, but we always make the decision consciously or unconsciously with applying some kind of money factor there. We just don't realize that, but we do, because everything in the material world is driven by money.
Yeah.
So, but it's a balance that when teaching them about money, I also feel the same, which is will they be kind of too much loving about money and losing out the human behavior, human nature of caring for others and things like that. So I try to maintain a balance there. But even to execute something that they really care about others, for example, one thing that I wanted to bring over is a foundation that I started back in India that tried to help others.
Okay.
In the last 3 years, I realized that even if you want to help others, you need a lot of money. So it's almost like sympathy versus empathy.
Yeah.
So I want my kids to be more empathetic towards others, not just sympathetic. So empathy is all about taking the actions to do something. And now you cannot care for everything in the world, but at least one or two things, because when you start taking actions, you know what you have to be empathetic about. So I think that's where the wisdom about money and a perspective, applying financial perspective, I think is important to start early.
Okay, good stuff. So we know about your philosophy. How have you started instilling this in your children's mindset to sort of start meeting you at least at that level?
It's interesting. I mean, I've not really opened these conversations too much about to my 5-year-old, but I think I started with my elder daughter when she was around 8, and it's amazing journey. Now I see that she's actually making responsible decisions, and and she plans her like buying. So like, for example, if she wants to really buy something, and then she feels, oh, that's a little expensive, let's just wait for some time. I sometimes feel bad, but then if it is something important, I would say, hey, this is needed for you, you got to go for it. But I try to make I see that she's making better choices, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, and you know what, and that brings me to my question that I wanted to ask you. It's one thing to have a mindset, but then what are the practical things that you do? And you mentioned, you talk to your kids, and so at least they understand where you're coming from. But now, how do you put that into practice with your kids? Yeah,
absolutely. It's more of all the things related to our life. I don't go really too beyond the scope of really teaching them in an academic standpoint. It's more, even when I go to a gas station, I give her the receipt and say, hey, can you read the receipt for me? What does it say?
Nice.
What do these numbers mean? And she's like, what is this tax? What is that tax? And some of the taxes I don't even know. We got to go.
Yeah.
But I'm open to her, like, hey, we got to go and find out what that means. Sometimes there's abbreviations in that receipts. It says it's some kind of tax. And then they find out what is the root tax for that. So things like that. One of the interesting projects that I did was to let her plan her own 11-year-old birthday, and it was a great experience. I didn't really put a lot of boundaries on her, but let her. She wanted to do a lot of things, but then when she had started putting everything in the paper, it was showing a big number, and she really got concerned and said, that is going to cost this much.
Wow.
Do you think, I don't think this is necessary now. So she's tried, and I said, okay, fine, whatever you feel. So she tried to, carve that out in a perfect way that can fit the budget as well as her friend circle and everything. So it was an interesting experience. I'm sure she learned a lot from that.
No, and so it's interesting you say that. So there's two things I'm picking up from that. You didn't limit the budget. So you didn't come from a limiting mindset. But you did want her to understand, hey, how do we actually make a birthday party possible? And so it gives her a chance to think and plan and see, oh, okay, well, this is what's involved, and these are the financial decisions that I have to make. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, it was. I think that might have really opened up her, not just on the finance side, but then on the planning side as well.
Yeah.
What's really required to pull this thing through, things like that. So, and I think she's applying that framework now to even, if you're going on a vacation, she's like, oh, Daddy, how does this work? And how are you managing this? I'm like, okay, that's good. She's asking all these questions.
Wow.
So all these learnings are happening. So, but one thing that I always reflect, I don't know whether, I wish there was more structured way. Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, schools at this age, forget this age. I mean, even in colleges, they don't teach you proper finance management, in my opinion, right? So that structured way there is a need for that. That's where I remember you and Tina, you guys are sitting down at our place with me and my wife, and we just started talking about, hey, what are you doing with your kids to teach them just, about general finance management? And the way you started talking about some of the things that you're doing, some of the reasons why, we just instantly connected and we're like, wow, you know what? We are doing and trying to do the exact same things. And obviously, you have an 11-year-old and a 5-year-old. We have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So some of the things that you're doing with your 11-year-old, we're working our way up to. So
that was a great conversation. I think a lot of the parents are in this situation. And one more thing, as I'm seeing, when I first landed in this country 20 years back, I had a feeling that, hey, at that time I didn't go to school here. How am I going to survive? How am I going to manage the intellectual power? But then, that kind of led to some hard work, and I really had to overcome some challenges. But that's something that I constantly tell my daughters, I mean, the elder one at least too, is that you can literally see people all over the world are flocking here. So that means you're going to face challenges in different dimensions, and sometimes people come with a lot of money also. So it's more you got to find your competitive edge. So it's like mainly, you don't want to be in a situation where you finish a 4-year degree and you cannot apply that to your professional life.
Right, which I've seen a lot of students be in that exact same situation. They go for a passion, and nothing wrong with that, but they haven't really thought it out beyond that of what they want to do past that college. But please continue, sir.
Absolutely, that's the main point. My fundamental goal is that she's able to choose a college degree that where she can apply and be happy about, apply her passion as well as happy about her professional life. Because the time is wasted if you go through this 4-year degree and then realize, oh, this is not going to work for us. Then you're actually losing the battle already. So I see a lot of things happening right now. That's a scary part for pretty much every parents out here now. Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's technically, I think that's one of the greatest thing about America. Like a lot of talents are coming from all over the world, but then that means we parents here need to be more aggressive in keeping our kids competitive, because we are facing different kind of competitions, which that's why I tell her also that you see many of these students are not going through American school system, but then how are they able to perform well, right? So they are able to compete, if not perform well, at least compete at that level. So that means the knowledge part is everywhere. Because of the internet, knowledge is everywhere now. We cannot just say that, because we went through this curriculum or because we went to this college, we are the most knowledgeable. That thing is gone. It's about how smart you are using your time in learning a particular thing. So that comes with a lot of decision-making skills. And I think once you kind of are very clear about money, I think a lot of these other things will kind of fall in place. Because I've seen, one of you, I know you're very successful with money. A lot of people who are successful with money are happy. I've seen that in practical life. So I want my daughters to be happy.
Yeah, the adage that I've heard is that money doesn't take care of everything, but it does take care of 90% of problems out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, but so I am curious because as you're doing some practical things with your 11-year-old, like when you take her to a gas station, showing her the receipt, talking about it, when you take her to a grocery store, and seeing what kind of decisions she makes there, planning for birthday party. What is your 5-year-old like? Are you having an active conversation? Is she asking questions? What are some things you're doing with her?
That's an interesting question because some of these conversations, sometimes she'll be right next to her because sometimes these things happen in a car or a dining table. And, it's interesting when we finish the conversation and she comes up with some weird question. And then I realize that, oh my God, the message is being wrongly understood or misinterpreted, whatever that is. I try to kind of correct that, but then it's an interesting mix. I'm sure with families where there are kids from different ages, you might have faced the same thing. But yeah, one thing is to pull the elder one off and have a different offline conversations. But then our real life practical situations sometimes don't demand that. So as parents, I think that is more powerful than sitting them and teaching about numbers and stuff, which they will learn in basic mathematics. But then going through a real life experience, putting that kind of visualizes them in front of their eyes. So that I think is powerful. But then you're right; it's a challenging thing to really do two things at the same time. But I think she's also slightly getting the point. I can say that. Yeah.
No, and I think
that's the question. Yeah.
So you know what? It does make me curious about now that you did some trial and error with your 11-year-old, as you now do some similar things with your 5-year-old. Are there things that you would change? Maybe in the approach, in the way you explain things, would you do some things different?
Absolutely. It's all learnings, right? So I think that's where our Sowtastic also comes into picture, because I think once had done for a couple of years with my elder one, I think putting that into a framework or really following a structure matters there. I want to do that for my the second one. I want to follow a structure. On that age, what is she supposed to learn properly? Little bit age group wise learning, and also challenge them with questions. I think I think most of our learnings nowadays are more teaching, not really challenging them, making them think. So I want to put them through real life situations that make them think, or ask for some fundamental questions, because I think money is a behavior. It's
and I've heard you say that before. I think it's wonderful.
It's certainly a lot to do with discipline, but it's a behavioral trait, and it's not going to come in overnight. And that's a challenge that I have faced. It's a very structured discipline that we got to follow, and then probably embed into your own lifestyle. So I think just like any other discipline or behavioral traits that we are trying to instill into our kids, I think money behavior is also something very important, because it has to do with a lot of emotional intelligence also. So
no, and I know you and I have had this conversation offline where we see some of the youth today get into such a hustle mode because they don't have that financial education and that background. So they're essentially playing catch up by getting into this hustle mode where they're working multiple jobs, thinking of different things. And again, nothing wrong with that. But if we can set the foundation at earlier age, then it gives them the necessary tools and mindset to be able to perform well whenever they have to make those financial decisions throughout life, right?
Absolutely. I think American culture is almost synonymous with hustle culture. I can say that. I mean, both as an external person, as an internal person, because I had to learn that hustle culture. I myself hustle a lot. Hardworking is not a bad thing. It's good. But then it has to be done in such a way that whether the hustle actually multiplies in the future. It cannot be just transactional hustle. And all I see people do is transactional hustles. Like what? Oh, I went to people doing 3 jobs. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing 3 jobs? At least 2 of them should be building some kind of futuristic asset. Maybe do one hustle, one transactional job that is just bringing your pay slip or whatever, but then do something that can build a future for you.
Yeah, something that's passive, something that's ongoing.
Right.
Yeah.
I see some people are doing it. I mean, I learned a lot from you. That's a smart way to live. But I see even parents sometimes. Oh, once a kid turns to 13 or 14, they're like, oh, get a job in Dunkin' Donuts. Like, what are they actually they're going to learn some discipline, of course, getting up from the bed and go to work. That's good. But then that's the prime age that they're forced to make a lot of decisions. So you cannot waste time from 12 to 18 anymore just on these side gigs that just teaches basic discipline. You have to find ways to teach that basic getting out of the bed discipline somewhere else in some other means. But that 14 to 18 is where they have to be exposed to different real life experiences, asking challenging questions so that they will be in a decision making mode when they are 18 that I'm going to learn this. I'm going to spend this money to learn this so that I can apply and build my professional career. Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Good stuff. So now, all the things that you're doing practically with your 11-year-old and then your 5-year-old, can you just tell me some of the, this concept that you and I talked about where you mentioned inside-out benefits? What do you see? What are some of the inside-out benefits that you've seen from your 11-year-old that they feel, that level of accomplishment or just, that the purpose in everything that they're doing? But what are some of the inside-out benefits you've seen?
Yeah, like I talked about, it's a behavioral trait. I mean, that has to do a lot of with our internal inside-out perspective, a lot of emotional intelligence. So one of the things that is the choices. Sometimes when they ask for something and we say, no, you can't have it, they get angry. It's a natural process. Every human being. It upsets them. Let's say they see their friend using the latest hovercraft. It's a cool thing. Why am I not getting that? No, you're not getting that now, or not until Christmas or something. Like they're upset and they're angry. But if they see in a way that they can make a choice, saying, "Hey, I like this toy. I want it, but I know I just got a toy last month, a bigger one. So probably I'll wait. I'll put that in my wish list, right? So that's a choice they're making. That's an internal trait. It cannot be educated. So rather than we going and saying that you're not going to get it, which is going to make them upset, now you basically work with them through a conversation. So obviously it's presenting them with the facts we can buy that, but then you're going to miss this, you're going to miss that, things like the conversation like that. And then also a little bit transparent about situations, financial situation. There's nothing wrong, so that they also understand the situation the parents are in. So a lot of times we think, we should not be, discussing these things with the kids, but, they understand. They understand a lot nowadays. So I think being open about it, but then that inside out thing is all about how they're applying themselves, their perspective to that situation. So because that once they start applying those principles to that situations, it's going to help them make wise decisions.
Yes.
They're not going to be confrontational. That I can see in my elder one. She's not confrontational about these things anymore. These things don't bother me anymore. Like the about issues about money, for example. Oh my God, buying these things or going on these things. Why I'm not wearing the most fanciest clothes or whatever. It doesn't bother me anymore because she's able to make wise choices. So that I think is an inside-out change.
Wow. Okay. Good stuff. So now let me flip that. And what are the outside-in changes that you've seen from others that have noticed these changes of, maturation in your kids? What are some of the outside-in benefits you've seen?
Any situation, as we are learning some inside-out approaches, about a lot of things we are, I just wanted to add one more thing about Inside Out is also the reflection process is very important. Like whether it is, see, one of the things about the ties, I'll come to the outside I wanted to talk about this important point, taking them and showing the ties that they have not touched for years, that builds something in them. It's like that changes things in them. So that's one thing I wanted to add. But in every situations, the world is also trying to teach something to us, right? So that's the outside in perspective. Now, how can we trigger that in a kid so that they can receive that learning in that process? What is the you go for a Thanksgiving sale. Have you ever had a conversation with your kid about why are they actually running this Thanksgiving sale? Why are they trying to get rid of the inventory? Why is this rush? All this fundamental question is like, then they'll slowly start learning from when companies are doing certain stuff, when they're doing a promotion, they realize that it's done with a purpose. Because a lot of things sometimes we don't even realize that it's actually thrown at us for no reason. Even your friends going, especially with the connected world that we live in, even our friends going on vacation, our friends buying this thing, our friends attending a concert, it's all going to trigger emotions in us. And that's natural. But as long as if you don't know how to manage and handle that, we all will be in trouble. So I think that's the other perspective. Like, okay, the situation is there. Now, what the world is trying to teach me from that situation, I think that learning is also very important.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed in these conversations with you is I've seen a lot of parents, because of whatever financial situation, they tend to always limit. Oh no, you can't do that because we can't afford it, or no, we're not going to go there because why do we need to go there when we can just settle for so and so? Instead of that, you're coming at it from the possibility mindset. What does it take to get that the thing that you want? So whether it's getting a toy like you mentioned, or and putting it on a wish list, or working towards a specific goal. Like, how do we get to where you want it, so then you truly appreciate it, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. I think that perspective is very important, because at the end of the day, life is a journey, and our career is a journey, and our kids' career also is a different journey. And as long as they kind of realize, it's not that they need to be fixated on a particular role or something, but as long as they know that if I'm able to do this in a very, very smart way, then I will be able to, I'll be able to plan for my future. And I know clearly what I need now, what are my recreational habits, and how much I can spend for recreation, versus savings and things like that. That's kind of, you don't even have to tell them you need to save 10%, whatever. You don't have to tell them. You just show that you talked about the big picture. You show the big picture, and they are going to learn by themselves, because they know they don't want to be left out.
Okay, good stuff. So it brings me to my really important and absolutely one question that I've been meaning to ask you. Knowing your background and knowing where you came from, if you had to go back to the kid Patrick in India, if you had to go back to your kid self, what advice would you give him about the financial thought process so that he could be set up for success?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think one thing I will stress is time is money. So you don't realize that that every hour or every year that passes by, you're at this young age and you want to explore. It's all fun, but then make those explorations somehow related to your future. That's going to be more exciting, because the learning process doesn't stop in the school or college. It's outside world is going to teach you a lot. So I would say actual learning starts outside college, but you don't have to wait till college. Even just as many experiences that you can get, that's good, rather than just fixated on one type of job, or that's advice that I'll give. And then entertainment spending, watch over it. But then again, when it goes time where time is money, just pay attention more to that. That's more important and vital. That's
Wow. Wow. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. That's been a lot of good knowledge. I think our viewers, our listeners will enjoy it thoroughly. And I appreciate you being our guest today.
Hey, thank you, Roshan. I mean, I'm very excited about this Sowtastic project because we see the changes happening in our kids, and we kind of empathize with other parents. That's something that we care for because once we build this wisdom in the kids, the society is going to be better.
Yeah.
Because once people start making wise decisions, I think that's going to be a lot of positive things that's going to happen. So I'm very excited to work with you on this. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The ideas, techniques, approaches, information, and opinions expressed in this video or podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Sowtastic LLC and its employees. While the primary purpose is to educate and inform, it does not constitute professional advice or services. We hope, however, that the content presented here will assist you in developing a strong financial understanding and mindset. You may not edit, modify, copy, or redistribute this video or podcast with any other website, computer, or playing device. Use of this video or podcast constitutes acceptance of these terms.